Captain June stood at the viewport of the Earthship Harmony, watching as they approached the blue-green world of Aquavis. The planet's 3 moons reflected light onto its vast oceans, creating shimmering patterns visible even from orbit. After 6 months of space travel, they had finally arrived at their destination. "Captain, we're receiving landing coordinates from the Visari Central Authority," said Communications Officer Day, her voice steady despite the excitement of first contact. June nodded. "Take us down, Lieutenant Sun." The ship descended through cloud layers toward a massive floating structure. Unlike Earth's solid buildings, the Visari Diplomatic Center resembled a collection of giant lily pads connected by transparent tubes. Water flowed everywhere, through walls, ceilings, and along pathways. Ambassador Hana joined June on the bridge. Her ceremonial blue uniform matched the watery theme of their destination. "Remember," Hana said quietly, "the Visari respect strength, but detest aggression. They communicate as much through water pressure and temperature as through words." June had studied the preliminary reports. The Visari were the first aquatic species humanity had encountered. Their bodies were sleek and bluish, with gill-like structures and webbed hands. They could breathe air for short periods, but needed to return to water regularly. The ship landed on a special dry dock. 6 Visari officials waited for them, their tall forms draped in flowing garments that seemed to ripple even without wind. The diplomatic team disembarked. John felt the humid air hit his face as the ship's door opened. "Welcome to Aquavis," said the tallest Visari, her voice melodic with an undertone like rushing water. "I am High Counselor Meru. We have prepared suitable accommodations for your stay." Ambassador Hana stepped forward and performed the traditional greeting, pouring a small vial of earth water into a bowl held by Meru. "We bring waters of friendship from Earth." The welcoming ceremony proceeded smoothly. The humans were shown to their quarters, rooms with both dry areas and small pools for meetings. The pools contained special mixtures of Earth and Visari waters, a symbol of cooperation between the species. Later that day, Captain June prepared for the first formal negotiation. He wore a moisture-regulating suit that would allow him to enter the diplomatic waters comfortably. These negotiations would determine trade routes, scientific exchanges, and possibly military cooperation. "The Visari value punctuality," Hana reminded him as they walked toward the central chamber. The diplomatic pool room was impressive. A large circular pool filled the center, surrounded by seating areas for those who preferred to stay dry. The water glowed with bioluminescent organisms native to Aquavis. Several Visari officials were already present, including Meru. But one Visari stood apart from the others. She was shorter, but held herself with obvious authority. Her skin had a purplish tint and her gill flaps pulsed rapidly. "That's Sub-Commander Krell," whispered Hana, leader of the Traditional Waters faction. "The briefing mentioned she's resistant to off-world contact." June nodded slightly, approaching the pool's edge. 2 other human team members were already in the water, discussing energy conversion technologies with junior Visari officials. As June prepared to enter the water, Krell suddenly moved toward him with surprising speed. Her body language was rigid, and the water around her seemed to chill noticeably. "You intend to enter these waters?" Krell's voice was sharp, lacking the musical quality of other Visari speech. "Yes, Sub-Commander," June replied calmly. "As agreed. In our preliminary communications, the diplomatic pool is shared space." Krell's gill flaps flared. "These are Visari waters. They are not meant for primitive species who barely understand the sacred nature of fluid dynamics." Ambassador Hana stepped forward. "Sub-Commander, with respect, these waters were specifically prepared for joint use. They contain elements from both worlds." "A contamination," Krell said, her voice rising. Several nearby Visari looked uncomfortable, but none intervened. "Your kind walks on dry land, Captain. Your evolutionary path diverged from true intelligence. Millennia ago." June maintained his composure despite the insult. "The diplomatic protocols—" "Do not cite protocols to me, human," Krell interrupted. "I have studied your species. You drain your own oceans of life. You pollute your water sources, and now you wish to bring your destructive ways to Aquavis." High Counselor Meru finally approached. "Sub-Commander, this behavior violates our hospitality codes." These humans have no place in our sacred waters, Krell insisted, turning to address the gathered vizari. Look at them. Their skin is dry and flaking. They require artificial coverings to survive even brief immersion. Would you allow such creatures in your family pools? The tension in the room grew. Some junior vizari actually left the pool, creating a visible division between the species. Captain June exchanged glances with Hana. Their training had prepared them for resistance, but not this level of open hostility during first contact. Perhaps, June said carefully, we should continue our discussions in the dry conference area today. We can address these concerns about shared water spaces. A wise retreat, Krell said with obvious satisfaction. Remember your place here, Captain. This is not your world, and these are not your waters. Some spaces must remain pure. As the humans moved toward the dry area, June noticed several vizari looking embarrassed by Krell's behavior. High Counselor Meru approached them privately. Captain, Ambassador, please accept my apologies. Not all vizari share Krell's views. The traditional waters faction is vocal but not majority. We value this historic connection between our worlds. June nodded respectfully. We understand, High Counselor. Every first contact has its challenges. We remain committed to building understanding between our peoples. But as the negotiations began in the dry area, June could not help noticing how Krell watched from the water, her eyes never leaving the human delegation. The path to friendship with the vizari, it seemed, would not be as smooth as the waters they so revered. 3 days after the pool incident, Captain June sat in his quarters reviewing reports. The situation had grown worse. Vizari officials who had been friendly now avoided the human delegation. 2 scheduled meetings had been cancelled without explanation. Captain, may I come in? Science Officer Tay stood at the doorway, his face showing rare excitement. So, of course, what have you found? June gestured to a chair. Tay placed a water sample on the table. I've been analyzing the diplomatic pool water. There's something interesting about how it changes when humans enter it. Is it contamination? That would support Krell's claims. No, the opposite. Tay's eyes lit up. Our presence improves the water. Human skin contains enzymes that break down certain toxic compounds naturally present in vizari water. We're actually purifying it. June leaned forward. Are you certain? I've run the tests 3 times. The diplomatic pool shows 18% higher oxygen content and reduced heavy metal traces after human immersion. The vizari can't do this themselves. This discovery could change everything. If the vizari learned that humans improved their water instead of contaminating it, Krell's arguments would collapse. Meanwhile, across the diplomatic complex, Ambassador Hana attended a small gathering of mid-level vizari officials. She hoped to rebuild connections damaged by Krell's influence. The Earth delegation appreciates your continued dialogue, Hana said to a group of vizari. We believe there's much our worlds can learn from each other. The vizari nodded politely, but Hana noticed how they maintained extra distance from her. One younger vizari named Lin seemed less affected by the tension. She approached Hana with curious eyes. Is it true that humans can only survive in water for short periods? Lin asked. That's partially correct, Hana smiled. But we've evolved different strengths. Humans can survive in environments too dry for vizari. Our different adaptations could complement each other. Lin seemed ready to ask more questions when a familiar voice cut through the conversation. Spreading more misinformation, Ambassador? Sub-Commander Krell approached, followed by several senior vizari. Hana kept her expression neutral. Sub-Commander, I was just explaining human physiology to Lin. Let me explain instead. Krell turned to the gathered vizari. Humans destroy water systems on their own planet. Their bodies reject proper immersion. They lack gill structures for proper water communication, yet they claim to be our equals. Lin looked uncomfortable. But, Sub-Commander, I've read the scientific reports. Humans have advanced water filtration technology that could help our outer colonies. Technology that masks their biological inferiority, Krell dismissed. Would you trust beings who can't even survive in their planet's oceans to advise us on water management? Hana saw an opportunity. Actually, Sub-Commander, we've made a discovery you might find interesting. Human biology has unexpected benefits for Visari water. The gathered Visari turned toward Hannah. Even Krell seemed momentarily curious. Our science. Officer has found that human skin enzymes break down toxins in your water naturally. When we enter your pools, we're actually improving water quality. For a moment, Hannah thought she'd made progress. Then Krell laughed, a harsh sound unlike the musical Visari laughter. Listen to these claims. Next, she'll tell us humans can breathe underwater. Krell moved closer to Hannah, towering over her. Bring your discovery to the Science Council tomorrow. Let us examine this miracle enzyme. Or is this just another human deception? The public challenge left Hannah with no choice. We'll present our findings gladly. Back in his quarters, Captain June received an urgent message from Hannah explaining what had happened. Tay, is your research ready for formal presentation? June asked. Tay looked worried. I need more time, Captain. The initial results are promising, but I need to identify exactly which human enzymes cause the effect. A formal presentation requires more data. We don't have more time. Krell has forced our hand. June stood and paced the room. Prepare what? You have? We'll present tomorrow. The next day, the human delegation entered the Science Council chamber. It was a massive room with raised seating surrounding a central water tank. Most of the Visari High Council were present, along with their top scientists. Tay stepped forward with his data and samples. He explained his findings clearly, showing how human immersion reduced toxicity in Visari water. His presentation was methodical and precise. When he finished, the chamber remained silent. Several Visari scientists examined his data with interest. Then, Krell rose from her seat. An impressive performance, but your samples are too small to be statistically relevant. Your methodology ignores basic principles of Visari water science. She gestured, and 3 Visari scientists stepped forward. One by one they questioned Tai's methods, finding minor flaws in his rushed research. As I suspected, Krell announced, triumphantly. More human deception. They claim to improve our sacred waters while seeking to control them. High Councillor Meru raised her hand. The human findings are interesting but preliminary. Perhaps joint research could clarify. Joint research would compromise our water sovereignty, Krell interrupted. I move to restrict human access to all ceremonial pools until further notice. The vote passed. Ambassador Hannah's attempt to change Visari opinion had backfired completely. Later that evening, Captain June received another message. The trade negotiations would continue, but with new restrictions. Humans would be confined to dry areas except during specifically approved ceremonies. We underestimated Krell's influence, June told his senior staff. She's turned our discovery against us. Tay looked devastated. The science is sound, Captain. With more time? Time is something we don't have, June said. But this isn't over. If humans truly improve Visari water, then we need to prove it in a way they can't ignore. Ambassador Hannah nodded. The annual water blessing ceremony is in 3 days. All Visari leaders will attend. It might be our last chance to change their minds. As the meeting ended, Captain June stared out at the vast Visari ocean, visible from his window. Somewhere in that endless blue was the key to saving this mission, and perhaps both their worlds. The day of the water blessing ceremony arrived with an air of tension throughout the diplomatic complex. Captain June adjusted his formal uniform as Ambassador Hannah briefed him on protocol. The ceremony is divided into 3 parts, Hannah explained. First, offerings to the water. Second, speeches of unity. Third, the collective immersion when all delegates enter the great pool together. Will we still be permitted to participate in the immersion? June asked. High Councillor Meru insisted we must. The ceremony symbolizes unity between worlds. Our exclusion would be seen as a complete diplomatic breakdown. Science Officer Tay entered, carrying a small case. Captain, I've prepared something. He opened the case, revealing vials of clear liquid. Earth minerals that catalyze with our skin enzymes. They'll create a visible blue glow when we enter the water, proof of our positive effect on Visari water. June considered this. Is it safe? We can't risk any negative reaction. Completely safe. I tested it extensively. The effect is beautiful and temporary. A visible demonstration might succeed where words failed, Hana noted. June nodded slowly. Very well. If Krell forces confrontation, we'll use this, but only as a last resort. The Great Pool Chamber was the largest structure in the diplomatic complex. Its domed ceilings sparkled with bioluminescent organisms that cast shifting patterns of light across the water. Hundreds of Visari officials filled the tiered seating, while diplomatic representatives from 3 other alien worlds sat in special sections. The human delegation entered and took their assigned seats near the pool's edge. Across the water, Krell sat with a group of senior officials, her expression cold as she watched the humans. High Counselor Meru began the ceremony, her voice carrying across the chamber. Today we celebrate the sacred waters that connect all worlds. Though we come from different planets, water flows through all living things. Various delegations presented their water offerings. Small vials poured ceremonially into the great pool. When Earth's turn came, Ambassador Hana stepped forward with a crystal container of water collected from Earth's deepest ocean trench. From the depths of Earth, we bring waters untouched by civilization, Hana said, pouring the offering. May it blend with Visari waters in eternal friendship. The offerings complete, the speech portion began. Representatives spoke of cooperation and shared futures. Throughout these speeches, June noticed Krell speaking quietly to officials around her, many nodding in agreement. Finally, Meru announced the immersion phase. Let all delegates now join in the sacred waters, symbolizing our commitment to galactic harmony. The delegates rose and prepared to enter the pool. Captain June and his team removed their outer uniforms, revealing the water-suitable garments beneath. Tay discreetly handed each human team member one of his special vials. Just break it in your palm before entering the water, he whispered. The delegates approached the pool's edge. Krell suddenly moved to the center of the chamber. Her voice rang out, stopping everyone. I cannot remain silent while our most sacred tradition is desecrated. Krell's gill flaps flared with emotion. These humans have no place in pure Visari waters. The chamber fell silent. High Counselor Meru stepped forward. Sub-Commander, this is inappropriate. The ceremony celebrates water purity. Krell interrupted. Yet we invite creatures who cannot even survive immersion without artificial protection. She pointed at the human delegation. Look at them. They wear synthetic skins to enter water. Their natural state is dry and flaking. June felt hundreds of eyes turn toward the human team. The other alien delegations watched with clear discomfort. This pool, Krell continued, her voice rising, contains water from sacred Visari sources dating back 10,000 years. Water our ancestors purified through generations of care, and we would allow it to be contaminated by these land dwellers. Captain June stepped forward. He kept his voice calm and even. Sub-Commander, with respect, this pool was actually designed as a joint project. The filtration system contains Earth technology and the water itself. Silence, Krell's shout echoed across the chamber. Do not lecture me about our own sacred pools. Humans think their technology makes them worthy of equality, but your species is fundamentally flawed. You destroy your own oceans. You poison your own drinking sources. Now you seek to contaminate ours with your primitive biology. Murmurs spread through the gathered Visari. June could see uncertainty on many faces. The human delegation will evacuate. This pool immediately, Krell demanded. Or do you require a scientific reminder of your biological inferiority? Perhaps we should drain the oxygen from this chamber and see how well your species functions then. The threat hung in the air. Several junior Visari officials actually moved away from the humans. Ambassador Hana looked at June, her expression, asking a silent question. June gave a subtle nod. It was time for their demonstration. Hana stepped forward. High Counselor Meru, honored delegates, we have respected Visari customs and diplomatic protocols. We have endured insults and restrictions with patience, but we cannot allow falsehoods to stand unchallenged. More human deception, Krell scoffed. Not deception, demonstration. Hana turned to the human delegation. Proceed. As one, the human team crushed Tay's vials in their palms and stepped into the great pool. For a moment, nothing happened. Krell's expression turned triumphant. Then, the water around each human began to glow with a soft blue light. The glow spread outward in gentle waves, eventually illuminating the entire pool with a beautiful azure luminescence. Gasps rose from the assembled delegates. The effect was stunning. The pool had never looked more beautiful. "What trickery is this?" Krell demanded, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. Science Officer Tay spoke up. "No trickery, Sub-Commander. Human skin contains enzymes that catalyze with certain minerals. The reaction you see is purifying the water, breaking down heavy metals and toxins. We're not contaminating your pool, we're cleaning it." The blue glow continued to spread, now reaching the edges where Visari delegates stood. Several cautiously touched the glowing water, their expressions changing from suspicion to wonder. "Lies," Krell insisted, though less forcefully. "This is some human chemical reaction, not biology." Captain June remained calm. "High Counselor Meru, we prepared a full scientific explanation. With your permission, Officer Tay can demonstrate exactly how human biology improves Visari water." Meru looked at the beautiful blue glow spreading throughout the great pool. Then she looked at Krell, whose influence seemed to be diminishing with every passing moment. "I believe," Meru said, "that it is time we listen to what our Earth friends have been trying to tell us." Krell's face twisted with anger. "This changes nothing. They remain biologically inferior." But around the chamber, Visari officials were already entering the glowing water, their expressions of wonder replacing the previous suspicion. The tide of opinion was turning, and in the center of the blue glow, Captain June met Krell's furious gaze with steady calm, knowing the real confrontation was only beginning. The great pool chamber hummed with confusion. The beautiful blue glow, from the human-activated water, created a surreal atmosphere. Some Visari officials entered the glowing water with wonder on their faces. Others remained at the edges, uncertain and watching. Krell stood rigid, her gill flaps pulsing rapidly in anger. This display proves nothing, a simple chemical trick to fool the gullible. But her voice no longer carried the same authority. Many Visari had seen the water transformation with their own eyes. High Counselor Meru moved through the glowing pool, examining the water with evident fascination. "The clarity is remarkable," Meru noted. "I can see details at the bottom that were obscured before." Krell pushed forward, still trying to control the situation. "High Counselor, we should test this water immediately for toxins. Who knows what these humans have released into our sacred pool?" Captain June had remained silent during the initial reaction, allowing the demonstration to speak for itself. Now he moved to the center of the pool, the blue glow following his movements like a living thing. "Sub-Commander Krell," June said, his voice quiet yet carrying across the chamber. "You have questioned our right to be here from the moment we arrived. You have spread false information about human biology. You have attempted to undermine this historic alliance at every turn." He paused, looking around at the gathered delegates. The chamber had fallen completely silent. "I have maintained diplomatic courtesy in the face of your hostility, but I can no longer allow your ignorance to threaten what we have come here to build," Krell hissed. "How dare you speak to me of ignorance? You know nothing of Visari water science." "Perhaps not," June acknowledged, "but I know this. These waters," he gestured to the glowing pool around them, "contain essential earth minerals that your people specifically requested 6 months ago." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many Visari officials looked confused. Krell's expression faltered slightly. "What nonsense is this?" she demanded, but with less conviction. "These minerals were synthesized using human biological processes that the Visari cannot replicate. This pool exists because we created it." June touched his temple, activating his neural implant. A holographic display appeared above the water, showing documents, communications, and scientific data. 6 months ago, your Science Council sent this request to Earth. The hologram showed an official Visari communication bearing the Council's seal. It asked for our help with water purification, methods to address rising toxicity in Aquavis oceans. The Visari delegates stared at the evidence floating above the pool. Many looked toward the Science Council members present, who shifted uncomfortably. Earth responded by developing these special minerals, June continued, displaying molecular structures in the hologram. They can only be processed through human biological filtering. That's why this diplomatic mission was accelerated. Your world needs our help. Krell looked stunned. This cannot be true. The council would have informed me. An elderly Visari scientist stood up. It is true, Krell, the request was classified. Only senior council members knew the full details. But why keep this secret? Krell demanded. High Councillor Meru stepped forward. Because, Sub-Commander, we face a crisis. The northern oceans are showing increasing toxicity levels. 3 coastal communities have already been evacuated. The hologram shifted, now showing environmental data from Aquavis rising. Pollution levels, dying marine life, contaminated water sources. Our scientists determined that human biological compounds might provide a solution, Meru explained. But we feared public panic if word spread about the severity of the problem. Science Officer Tay joined the conversation. The blue glow you see is the visible manifestation of the detoxification process. Human enzymes are breaking down the complex hydrocarbon pollutants that Visari biology cannot process. Many Visari were now examining the glowing water with new understanding. One dipped a testing device into the pool, checking the readings with evident amazement. The toxicity levels are dropping rapidly, the Visari scientist announced. This small demonstration is achieving in minutes what our purification systems cannot accomplish in days. Krell looked increasingly isolated as the truth spread through the chamber. Why was I not informed of this crisis? I am Sub-Commander of Water Security. Because, Krell, Meru said sadly, your known prejudice against off-worlders made you a security risk. We could not chance you blocking this vital cooperation. June's holographic display shifted again, now showing planned cooperation projects between Earth and Aquavis, water treatment facilities, biological exchange programs, joint scientific missions. This alliance isn't about diplomacy alone, June explained. It's about saving your oceans. Without intervention, your environmental models predict total ecological collapse within 5 years. The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. Many Visari had clearly been unaware of the danger their world faced. Krell stood frozen, the implications of her actions washing over her. Her campaign against humans had jeopardized her own planet's salvation. I did not know. Your ignorance nearly cost your people everything, June said, not unkindly. But it's not too late. The full Earth delegation arrives next week with the complete treatment protocols. Ambassador Hana stepped forward. We came early to establish diplomatic foundations. The real work, the environmental recovery, has yet to begin. Meru turned to the assembled delegates. This is why alliance with Earth is not optional. It is essential for our survival. One by one, Visari officials entered the glowing pool, watching in wonder as the water became clearer around them. The blue light spread throughout the chamber, a visible symbol of hope. Krell remained at the edge, her former confidence shattered. Her entire campaign against humans had been built on prejudice and incomplete information. Worse, she had nearly sabotaged her own world's salvation. A young Visari approached her. Sub-Commander, will you join us in the purified waters? Krell looked at the human delegation, at Captain June, who watched her without malice. Then she looked at her fellow Visari, waiting for her decision. With visible effort, Krell stepped into the glowing pool. The blue light enveloped her, and for the first time, she experienced directly what the humans had brought to her world. The water, she said softly, surprise in her voice. It feels alive. Captain June nodded. That's the feeling of healing beginning. Your world has a long recovery ahead, but today marks the start. As Krell experienced the transformed water, the truth became impossible to deny. Her beliefs about human inferiority collapsed in the face of evidence she could feel with every cell in her body. The great pool ceremony, meant to be a simple diplomatic event, had become something far more significant. The moment when 2 worlds truly began to understand each other. 2 weeks after the revelation at the Great Pool, Captain June stood on the observation deck of the new Earth-Visari Joint Research Facility. Through the massive windows, He watched teams of humans and Visari working together in specialized pools. The blue glow of human-activated enzymes illuminated each work area. The Northern Coastal Purification Project has shown an 82% reduction in toxicity levels, Science Officer Tay reported, showing June the latest data. The Visari scientists are calling it the Blue Miracle. June nodded. And the Southern Ocean currents? Treatment begins next month. The full Earth science fleet arrived yesterday with the remaining equipment. The aftermath of the confrontation had moved with surprising speed. Once the truth about Aquavis's ecological crisis became public, the Visari population demanded immediate action. The prejudice Krell had fostered crumbled overnight, replaced by gratitude for human assistance. Ambassador Hana entered the observation deck, accompanied by High Counselor Meru. "Captain, the final treaty has been approved," Hana announced. The Visari High Council voted unanimously in favor. Meru's gill flaps rippled with emotion. "We have also issued a formal apology to Earth for the treatment your delegation received. The historical record will show that humans came to our aid when we most needed it." "No apology is necessary," June said. "Cultural misunderstandings are expected during first contact. What matters is how we move forward." Below them, a new group of human scientists entered the facility, greeted warmly by their Visari counterparts. What had seemed impossible weeks ago, humans and Visari working side by side in shared waters, now happened naturally. The cultural exchange program has received over 10,000 Visari applicants, Hana reported. "Everyone wants to visit Earth, and we have many who wish to study here," June replied. "The Aquavis environment offers research opportunities we never imagined." Meru gestured toward a distant part of the facility. "Officer Tay's permanent research station will be completed next week. He has already selected his team." Tay looked up from his data with a smile. "The enzyme synthesis lab will allow us to produce treatment compounds on site, no more shipping them from Earth." June had been surprised when Tay requested permission to remain on Aquavis, but the young scientist had formed a deep connection with both the planet and its people. His work would help ensure the ocean's recovery continued. "And what of Sub-Commander Krell?" June asked quietly. Meru's expression grew serious. The council debated her fate extensively. Some wanted severe punishment for endangering our world. Others argued for leniency, as she did not know the full situation. "And your decision?" "Reassignment. Krell has been sent to oversee the Western Reef Station. It is remote, but it is also where her skills are needed. The reef systems show the worst contamination." June nodded. "An appropriate consequence, not punishment for its own sake, but a chance for Krell to help repair the damage her actions nearly caused." "There is one more thing," Meru added. "The Western Reef Station will be staffed primarily by human specialists. Krell will work alongside them daily." Hana raised an eyebrow. "Is that wise, given her views?" "Perhaps not wise, but necessary," Meru said, "for both Krell and us. She must learn that diversity brings strength, not weakness." Later that day, at the far edge of the Visari territory, Sub-Commander Krell stood on the platform of her new assignment, the Western Reef Station. The small research outpost floated above one of Aquavis's most damaged ecosystems. Once colorful reefs lay gray and lifeless below the surface. Krell had accepted her reassignment without protest. Her position in Visari society had collapsed when the truth about her campaign against humans became widely known. Many now viewed her as the one who had nearly prevented their world's salvation. The sound of a shuttle approaching broke her thoughts. The human team was arriving, her new colleagues. Krell straightened her uniform, attempting to maintain dignity despite her fall from power. The shuttle landed, and 5 humans emerged, led by a woman Krell recognized from the diplomatic team. "Sub-Commander Krell," the woman greeted her. "I'm Dr. Min, lead biologist. My team and I are here to begin reef restoration." Krell performed the formal Visari greeting, though it took effort. "The station is ready. Your equipment was delivered yesterday." Dr. Min nodded. "We should get started immediately. The damage is extensive, but we believe recovery is possible." Krell led the humans through the station, showing them the research pools and equipment. The humans were professional but cautious around her. They had undoubtedly heard of her reputation. When they reached the main work area, Dr. Min unpacked several containers of the now familiar blue compound. "We'll begin treatment today," she explained. "These reefs were once the most diverse ecosystem on Aquavis. We believe they can be again." Krell watched as the humans prepared their equipment. Their easy confidence with water processes that had eluded Visari scientists for generations was humbling. "Why do you help us?" Krell asked suddenly. "After how? I treated your people. Why not let this reef die?" Dr. Min looked up from her work. "Because that's not who we are. Humans have made plenty of environmental mistakes on our own world. We're still fixing them. If we can help Aquavis avoid our errors, we will. Even though I called your species primitive, inferior, especially then," Dr. Min said simply. "Proving you wrong through actions means more than any words could." The human team entered the water, and the familiar blue glow began to spread. Krell watched as dead coral sections began to respond, faint hints of color returning to their surfaces. "Would you like to join us?" Dr. Min asked, extending a hand from the water. Krell hesitated, her old prejudices battling with new realities. Then slowly she entered the glowing water. As the blue light surrounded her, Krell felt something she hadn't expected: hope. The damaged reef around her would take years to heal completely. Perhaps her own understanding would take just as long. But today was a beginning. There, Dr. Min pointed to a small reef section. "The polyps are already responding to treatment." Krell moved closer to examine the coral. Tiny creatures were emerging, feeling safe enough to return to their homes. Different species working together to rebuild what had been lost. "It's beautiful," Krell admitted. "Yes," Dr. Min agreed. "And it's just the start." Back at the main facility, Captain June prepared for his return to Earth. His mission complete, he would report the successful first contact and alliance. Ambassador Hana would remain to oversee the expanding cooperation between worlds. As his shuttle lifted off, June looked down at the blue planet, now dotted with glowing pools where humans and Visari worked together. What had begun in confrontation had transformed into something neither species could have achieved alone. Somewhere on the western reef, a former enemy was learning that true strength came not from isolation, but from connection. And that, June thought, might be the most important discovery of all: the end.